Anytime you come for a funeral. Alright, so
Okay, we should stop coming.
Today I'll be taking your photos to take the shots. My pictures are not nice. Well, my pictures okay, sorry. Yeah. Okay. And I'll use it.
I'll be your guide for the next 60 minutes. Alright. That will depend on how you walk. Right. How fast or how slow you walk. Right. We may end up doing more than 60 minutes if you walk slow. Right. So I'll begin with a short summary of the whole place. Tell you the background history of the place. These people, they are here, so they know.
We want to live again.
Alright. So in 1661, Danish sailors arrived here on the coast of Osu. But before they came to this part of the of Osu, it was being occupied by the Swedish in 1652. Right. But then, if I want to go back, in the 1600s, right, the Portuguese were the first people to have arrived here. Right, they moved from the Dahomey area to this place, and they occupied this place. Right. So when they came, they were trying to trade with the people, right? But then they were dislodged by the Swedish. And then the Swedish took over the place in 1652. But then in 1661, the Danes also arrived here and overthrew the Swedish and took over the place. But then the king of Accra, King Okanko II, told the Danes, they can't occupy this place. They need permission from the people. So they ended up buying the piece of land on which the castle is sitting on right now for 3,200 gold florins. And the Danes built the first block of the castle down there in honor of King Christian V of Denmark. And that brought the name Christiansborg, Christian Stone or Christian Fortress. When you look around the castle, right, you realize that the architecture of the place is not kind of sweet or it's not equal, right? The architecture of the place tells you about the history of the various European groups who have stayed here from 1661 all the way to 1957 when Ghana became an independent state. Alright. So in the castle here, right, this is just like 60 seconds into the intro, so you're welcome. In the castle here, whenever you see a symbol like this on the wall, right, it tells you that that part of the castle was built by the Danish. Right. Whenever you see a symbol like that, the one behind you, a small crown with J out, it tells you that part of the castle was built by the British. So in 1921, Sir Gordon Gorgesberg built that part of the castle in honor of King George Reagan, the brother of Elizabeth II. But then, another thing was also built here by the Portuguese. So after the Danish arrived here in 1661, there were 3 different European groups who were also here, right? Extra 2, let me say, Portuguese and then the British, until 1957 when Ghana became an independent state. From 1957 to the year 2013, this place was used as the presidential palace. All right. Where we are standing is called the Old Castle. The other side is called the New Castle. Photos are not allowed at the other side, but here you can take photos because this is the museum of the place. All right. In the history of this particular castle, in 1693, the castle was under attack by a native Ghanaian named Asameni.
reservoir.
Men den var det så regnvand og grundvand.
Right. In the history of the castle, I told you that from 1957 to the year 2013, this place was used as a presidential palace. All right. So after the year 2013, when the seat of government was moved, as a sign of respect for presidential protocol, we don't use the middle side of the stairs. When we are climbing, we use this side. Right. Whenever we have a state visitor, like maybe a president of another country or a prime minister of another country, that's when we use the middle. All right. The last person who used this place was about a few months ago, was the Prime Minister of Denmark when she was here. She was the only person who used the middle part. Nobody else can use that part. When you take the Ghana 50 cedi note, all right, anybody? Right. Right. You are prepared now. Thank you. Right, so when you take the Ghana 50 cedi note and you turn it, the left upper corner, you see a picture of the stairs behind you. And then you see the building with lots of windows. All right, that's a building over there, built in 1921 by the British. At the end of the tour, I'll take you to the exact spot where the photographer took the picture from, so you could have kind of a photocopy. There are 3 windows on the money, separate 3 windows. I'll take you to that particular room, and I'll tell you the story about those 3 windows also. So those who want to take their pictures can take the pictures, and then we'll move up. If you want pictures, we take pictures and then we go.
You want to take pictures? No, it's okay. Take it.
All right. So, in 1693, when the castle was under attack, the Danish governor escaped by jumping from the balcony over there. You see the balcony between the 2 roofs up here? That was where the Danish governor escaped from. He jumped all the way from that side down into the sea and then managed to run along the coast about 2 miles away from here to Fort Crevitor. But now it is called the Port. All right. When the Queen visited Ghana, and then behind, including the bed, the cabinet you are seeing here.
So the bed is the bed of the Queen Elizabeth in 1961.
But then in 1877, Prince Charles also came to visit Ghana and slept on the bed you are seeing. So historically, there are only 2 people who have slept on the bed. Elizabeth II and then the son, Prince Charles. This place is called the Queen Bedroom. But the bed you are seeing here also tells you the history about the slave trade. Right. If you have never seen a mahogany wood before, the bed is made from a wood called mahogany, which was taken from the Caribbean. The bed was created in England, ending up on the coast of Accra, Christiansborg Ghana, and that was how the slave trade was. Finished product from Europe, gunpowder, mirror, tobacco, rum, were brought from Europe by the various Europeans who were here on the coast, down to the coast of West Africa in exchange of human beings as slaves, ivory, spices, and gold. The gold, the spices, and the ivory were sent back to Europe, while the slaves were sent to the Americas on the plantations for the Europeans. Whenever they take the raw materials from there, cotton, wood, sugar cane, were sent to the factories in Europe, and that brought about the traffic.
Ik ga me gehört in 16 bedankt.
Spend a bit of time there. Alright, so we are in a chapel. Originally a Catholic chapel, later became an Anglican chapel by the British, also used by the Danes, and then later became a Presbyterian chapel which was used by one of our former presidents. The photos here tells you about the political journey of Ghana in terms of our president from 1957. But you realize that there's one different kind of photo here. This is a painting of Prince Asamani, the man who invaded the castle in 1693. Right, so when the Danish governor was escaping, he left his uniform behind. And then Asamani took the uniform, put it on, and declared himself as the governor of the castle for 13 months. But then when the Danes came back and then he gave the castle back to them, he escaped, moved back to his hometown, and later became a chief and died in 1702. If you are going to a place called Akosombo, right, there's a famous bridge named Adome Bridge. Before the bridge, there's a town with a runabout. Within the runabout is a statue of this particular man, right? So whenever you get there, it tells you that you are in the territory of the Kamon people, all right? And that's where the keys of the castle are located now. The first picture on my right, on my extreme right, I refer to that particular man as the greatest African to have ever lived. His name is Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. He led Ghana's independence from British colonial rule in 1957. But before 6th of March 1957, on the 5th of March 1957, here in the castle, an agreement between him and the then we are back to where we started from, right? Down here is called the market square or the courtyard. Down here we had several people, tens of thousands of African men and women, lined up, stripped naked, check their eyes, check their teeth, their private parts and all of that. When they are done, each and every merchant that was involved in the slave trade had a symbol created with metal. They put it in fire. When it becomes red hot, they use it to mark the slaves after buying them. So they mark the slaves here, here, and then in the inner ties. There's a company called the Guinea Company of Copenhagen. They used to mark their slaves in the inner ties. When it is done, they march all the slaves down into the dungeons where they keep them up to 6 months until the arrival of the slave ship, and then they take them through the exit point called the door of no return down into the ship. According to the records here, 120,000 slaves were shipped out from here to the island of St. Paul, St. Thomas, and St. John's by the Danes. Right, from the slave coast in modern-day Nigeria, all the way to the Ghana coast in Senegambia, there were 13.5 million Africans who were shipped out from here by the various European groups to the Americas. But according to research, double of that same number also died in the dungeons and then in the Middle Passage. So we are looking at about over 30 million Africans who were captured by the various European groups during the slave trade era. In 1803, the Danish here on the coast decided to abolish the slave trade. So in history, they became the first European group to abolish the slave trade here. And then in 1850, they sold the castle to the British for £10,000, and then they left. But what happened here in the castle is that after the Danish built the Christiansborg Castle, right, approximately 17.5 kilometers to 18 kilometers east of this particular castle, they built a fort all the way to Keta. So the next fort is found in a place called Teshi, called Augustusburg. The next one is located in Limpopo called Friedrichsburg. And then the next one is called Fort Congenstein, that was built in Adan, and then the last one was built in Keta called Fort Presenstein. So in 1850, when the Danish wanted to leave the coast, they sold all those forts, including a Danish coffee plantation in a place called Abokobi for £10,000 to the British Crown, and then they left the coast, and then the British took over. But then, in 1917, during the World War II, those 3 islands I mentioned earlier, called Thomas and John's, were sold by the Danish to the US for $100,000. Now, those islands are called the US Virgin Islands. So majority of the African Americans who live on the US Virgin Islands are descendants of slaves who were picked up from here to that place during the slave trade era. We'll go into the dungeons. Alright, in the dungeons, no light. We'll experience 1 minute of silence and then we'll come out. then we go to. And then his son, Henry Christa, took over the slavery business from his father. But then when Henry Christa took over the slave trade, what he did was that he created an underground tunnel from the Resta family house in Osu through into a place called the slaveholding area. So whenever he received message from the Danish governor here that maybe in 6 or 7 weeks there will be arrival of a slave ship, to transport the slaves from the house down to the holding area.
It goes to the beach. Okay. Please,
Put your hand low.
please, Gentil. Yes, I'm here.
Your only options are either to make it to your final destination or you die in the middle passage. Whenever an enslaved African goes through here, their European masters refer to this particular door as the door of no return. It means that you are journeying out of the door and never to come back to the land of Africa again. But then, we believe that in 1998, that particular phrase by the slave master that this door becomes a door of no return, it changed spiritually because in 1998, we had a descendant of enslaved Africans that were brought from Jamaica. There were 2 skeletons, a male and a female that were brought from Jamaica. They were supposed to do a journey from the Kotoka International Airport to Cape Coast. But then if you are going to Cape Coast, there's a place called Abanze. There's a fort there that was built by the Dutch called Fort.
Okay, det gør jeg heller ikke.
Vi skal lige samle os, så hun kan lave et gruppebillede her.
I wore my contacts today, so I can see it from now.